Kier Starmer was supposed to be the man who saved the Labour Party, the man who brought integrity back to British politics. But just 3 minutes ago, that illusion shattered. A devastating leak hit live TV, exposing Kier Starmer's hidden £4 million hedge fund scandal and plunging the Labour Party into utter chaos. What began as whispers of private donors and secret meetings has exploded into a full-blown national scandal, with voters now demanding Starmer's resignation and even calling for jail time. But this isn't just about one man. This is about a political movement built on trust that is now collapsing in real time. And if you thought that was bad, wait until you hear about the missing £22 billion. This is the biggest betrayal of Labour supporters in modern history, and it's unravelling faster than anyone imagined. The breaking point came on a quiet weekday afternoon. Cameras were rolling, news anchors were mid-sentence, and then the leak hit. A bombshell report dropped live on national television, linking Kier Starmer directly to a mysterious £4 million hedge fund donation. Within seconds, social media exploded. Hashtags like #StarExposed and #ResignNow were trending across the UK. People who once believed in his promises were now demanding answers. According to internal documents now circulating across media outlets, this hedge fund isn't just a donor. It has deep connections to financial institutions that profited during the economic downturn. The same institutions that ordinary working class families blamed for years of austerity and suffering. How could the leader of the Labour Party, the party of the people, accept funding from them? This wasn't a one-off donation. The papers revealed multiple meetings between Starmer's inner circle and hedge fund representatives over the course of a year. Hidden behind polished speeches and campaign promises was a relationship built in the shadows. Now that relationship is out in the open, and it reeks of betrayal. The optics are damning. While Starmer was touring factories and speaking about equality, his backers were millionaires with interests in privatisation and deregulation. Labour voters, especially the Grassroots supporters who powered Starmer into leadership, are furious. One long-time member was quoted saying, "We didn't fight for this party just to watch it be sold off to the highest bidder." But the scandal doesn't stop there. This £4 million revelation has triggered a wave of new investigations into Starmer's finances. Former aides are beginning to speak out. Anonymous sources from within Labour HQ claim this is just the tip of the iceberg. One insider warned, if the public knew the full story, Starmer would be finished by morning. The fear inside Labour now isn't just about the next election, it's about survival. The pressure is building, and it's not coming from opposition parties. It's coming from Starmer's own side. Labour MPs are reportedly holding secret meetings, debating whether to force Starmer to step down before more damage is done. But with each passing hour, the damage grows. As one Labour youth coordinator put it, "We were promised a leader who would fight for us. What we got was a puppet for the rich." Across the country, town halls are buzzing. Voters are showing up to local events demanding accountability. One furious voter shouted at a Labour official, "Put him in jail." If this was a working man, he'd already be in handcuffs. That level of anger isn't rare anymore. It's becoming the new normal. Polls are confirming what Labour feared most. Starmer's support among the youth has collapsed. Once the backbone of the modern Labour movement, young voters are walking away. According to a new flash poll released just this morning, 62% of Labour supporters under 35 now want Starmer to resign immediately. Many say they feel betrayed, disgusted and fooled. What's worse is the timing. Britain is heading toward another crucial election, and Labour was finally gaining momentum. Now that momentum has vanished. All that's left is a crisis, and at the root of it all is a man who preached transparency while hiding deals behind closed doors. Starmer has always painted himself as the adult in the room, the voice of reason in a chaotic political world. But after this scandal, that image is crumbling. The more people learn about these backdoor deals and hidden hedge fund connections, the more they're beginning to ask, was he ever really one of us? Or was he just another politician in a suit playing a different game behind the scenes? And as more names and numbers come out, the biggest question now isn't whether Starmer will resign, it's how much longer he can hold on. Because from the look of it, his leadership is already collapsing and the Labour Party may never recover. What came next turned a political scandal into a national nightmare. As the £4 million hedge fund exposure shook public trust, a far more explosive revelation emerged, one now being called the largest financial mystery in Labour Party history. We're talking about a staggering £22 billion hole in public finance plans linked directly to Kier Starmer's shadow proposals. The numbers don't lie, and what they reveal is terrifying. Internal government watchdogs, independent economic analysts, and even some former Labour advisors are now questioning where this staggering sum has gone. The initial reports painted it as a miscalculation, but the deeper investigators dig, the more it looks like this wasn't just incompetence, it may have been deliberate. The story broke quietly at first. A leaked memo from inside the Treasury showed that Labour's proposed funding plans didn't just fail to add up, they left a £22 billion shortfall with no explanation. At first, Labour brushed it off, calling it a technical oversight. But the more questions were asked, the less sense the answers made. Journalists demanded transparency, and what they found sent shockwaves across the political landscape. Funding was promised for everything from NHS reform to green energy initiatives, yet there was no clarity on where the money would come from. Every promise, every pledge now looks like it was built on financial quicksand. And at the centre of it all stands Kier Starmer, a man who vowed to bring back fiscal responsibility after years of Tory chaos. Instead, it's now being said he may have authored the most misleading financial blueprint in recent Labour history. Opposition leaders are tearing into the revelations, calling it a con, a deception, even an attempted cover-up. One senior Conservative MP didn't hold back, declaring on national television, "If this were a company, the CEO would be behind bars. This is public money we're talking about." But it's not just the Conservatives. Even Labour's own backbenchers are losing faith. Behind closed doors, murmurs of rebellion are growing louder. One MP was quoted anonymously saying, "We can't go into an election with this man in charge. He's dragging the whole party into the mud." The £22 billion figure has now become a rallying cry for disillusioned Labour voters across online forums and public protests. Signs reading, "Where's the £22 billion?" are starting to appear. People want answers, they want accountability, and they're not accepting vague denials anymore. Economists from across the political spectrum have issued warnings, saying that if the numbers aren't corrected soon, Labour's entire platform could collapse before the campaign even begins. This isn't just a reputational issue, it's an existential one. The damage is already being felt. Focus groups show that trust in Starmer has dropped to its lowest level since he became Labour leader. Financial transparency, once a key selling point of his leadership, is now a joke among critics. Labour's youth wing has issued an emergency statement demanding an independent audit of all party financial pledges and donor activities. And perhaps most dangerously of all, some local Labour councils have started distancing themselves from the National Party leadership. That kind of internal fracture is rare, and it usually signals that the dam is breaking. What really raised alarm bells was the sudden resignation of two senior financial advisors from Starmer's inner circle. One of them, speaking under anonymity, said, "I couldn't stay silent. What's happening behind the scenes isn't just bad planning, it's morally wrong." Those words were enough to send shockwaves through the press. If key staff are leaving because they no longer believe in the project, what does that say about the man at the helm? To make matters worse, Labour's opponents are wasting no time. Political adverts, social media campaigns, and even viral memes are now circulating around the clock, all targeting Starmer's £22 billion scandal. One particularly damaging video features a side-by-side of Starmer promising economic clarity, followed by clips of economic analysts laughing as they break down the unaccounted funds. The public humiliation is growing by the hour. All of this is happening as calls for resignation reach deafening levels. The hedge fund ties exposed him, but it's this financial black hole that may bury him. Political commentators are now speculating that Starmer's leadership is hanging by a thread. One wrong move, One more revelation and it could all be over already. Bookmakers have slashed odds on an early leadership challenge. The idea that Starmer could be forced out before the general election, once unthinkable, is now openly discussed on national broadcasts. What we're witnessing isn't just a political scandal, it's the slow motion collapse of a carefully crafted public image. Starmer sold himself as the grown-up in the room, the man who would clean up the mess, but now the mess is under his own feet, and voters are watching closely to see if he slips. The £22 billion mystery is growing. The calls for a police investigation are getting louder, and the final question is becoming unavoidable. Did Kier Starmer mislead the British public about the most important economic promises of his leadership? Because if the answer is yes, then his resignation might not be enough. While the hedge fund links and the £22 billion black hole have shattered Starmer's credibility among political insiders, what's now unfolding across the country is something even more dangerous for him and for the Labour Party. The backlash isn't just political anymore, it's emotional, it's visceral, and it's coming from the very people who once defended him, donated to his campaigns, and believed he was the only one who could fix what the Tories had broken. That belief is dying fast across Britain, especially among younger voters and working-class Labour strongholds. A movement is taking shape and it's not calling for apologies, it's calling for accountability. People want answers, yes, but more than that, they want Starmer out and they want him prosecuted if the allegations are true. In one shocking poll released just hours after the £22 billion scandal broke, 62% of respondents said they believe Starmer should step down as Labour leader immediately, not next year, not after the election. Now, even more damning, nearly half of self-identified Labour voters agreed. This isn't a slow erosion of support. It's a freefall. And the damage is most severe where Labour can least afford it. Among the youth vote and in key battleground constituencies, university students, young professionals and first-time voters, many of whom once rallied behind Labour's message of fairness and transparency, are now turning their backs. Social media is overflowing with the phrase "Never Starmer," trending across platforms as thousands share clips, quotes and infographics laying out the scandals. In Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham and Sheffield, grassroots protests are erupting in front of Labour headquarters and MPs' local offices. These aren't violent demonstrations, but the anger is palpable. Handmade signs demand prison time. Chants call for Starmer to face criminal charges. If the hedge fund scandal or the missing billions prove to be deliberate, jail him, not just sack him, read one banner held by a former Labour canvasser who once knocked doors for Starmer's campaign. The betrayal cuts deep because so many believed in the promises. Now they're watching those promises rot from the inside. A growing number of Labour activists are refusing to campaign for the party unless Starmer steps down. Constituency Labour parties are filing emergency motions of no confidence in the leader. Some are threatening to withhold funding and volunteer support for local races. It's civil war. Labour HQ is said to be in crisis mode, holding late-night meetings and scrambling to control the narrative. But it may be too late. The dam has already cracked and the tide of discontent is flooding in. One whistleblower from inside Labour's communications team revealed that internal briefings are preparing for Starmer resignation scenarios and planning messaging around leadership transition optics. In plain English, they're bracing for a collapse. Adding fuel to the fire, new claims are surfacing that suggest senior Labour officials were aware of Starmer's hedge fund connections months ago and actively worked to keep it hidden. If that's proven true, this doesn't stay a leadership crisis. It becomes a party-wide scandal implicating multiple high-ranking figures. That's when legal questions shift from speculative to serious. Already, calls are mounting for a full parliamentary inquiry. Some are demanding police involvement. And if financial fraud or abuse of donor funds is uncovered, it's possible criminal charges could follow, not just for Starmer, but for those who protected him. The timing couldn't be worse. With a general election approaching, Labour's campaign was supposed to be focused on winning over swing voters and holding on to marginal seats. Instead, they're playing defence, issuing damage control statements, and watching their own base walk away. The Tories are exploiting every moment. So is Reform UK. So are independent challengers. Every party with something to gain is seizing this moment of Labour's vulnerability, and it's working. In one leaked campaign poll, Labour saw a 12-point drop among voters aged 18 to 34 within just 72 hours of the hedge fund revelations going public. But the most dramatic shift is psychological. For the first time since he took over, Starmer is no longer seen as inevitable. He's no longer the presumed Prime Minister in waiting. The aura of control, of professionalism, of being the grown-up in the room, it's all gone. What remains is a leader under siege, drowning in unanswered questions and facing a tidal wave of public fury. Inside Labour's inner circles, loyalty is evaporating fast. Allies are turning quiet. Backers are pulling out. Some are reportedly reaching out to Angela Rayner, testing the waters for a leadership bid. Others are eyeing Wes Streeting, Lisa Nandy, and even outside figures. It's not a question of if Starmer will fall, but when and who will replace him. This is no longer just a political crisis. It's a reckoning for broken promises, for secret ties, for financial mismanagement that has not only shaken public confidence, but may have broken it completely. And the people, especially the young voters Labour depends on, aren't just demanding answers, they're demanding justice. So what's happening to Kier Starmer right now is not just a political collapse, it's a complete and public dismantling of a man who was once seen as Labour's saviour, a former prosecutor, a man of the law, a supposedly calm, steady hand who promised to rebuild a broken party and restore faith in government. But now, in real time, millions are watching as that image burns to the ground. The calls for justice have now reached a deafening pitch. Public petitions demanding that Starmer be arrested and investigated have already crossed the 1 million mark. Protesters are organising nationwide marches. Former Labour MPs are coming out of retirement to condemn what they call a complete betrayal of Labour values. Parliament is under pressure like never before. The media isn't pulling punches anymore either. Major newspapers that once endorsed Starmer are now running front-page headlines demanding answers. Broadcasters are replaying the now infamous live moment when Starmer was blindsided by the leaked hedge fund documents. During a press conference, his stunned silence, the fumbled responses, the panicked looks, all now etched into public memory. Legal experts are warning that if the allegations are substantiated, especially around the movement of donor funds, misuse of public campaign grants or concealment of financial interests, Kier Starmer could be looking at criminal liability. One senior barrister said it plainly. If even half of this is true, we're talking about fraud, possibly money laundering. This isn't just a matter for the Labour Party, it's a matter for the courts. And perhaps the most catastrophic damage is happening at a level deeper than politics or law. It's happening to trust. The trust between the people and those who claim to lead them. For years, Labour positioned itself as the party of working people, the party of fairness. Now, the perception among voters is that it was all a lie. Inside Labour HQ, sources say the mood is apocalyptic. MPs are distancing themselves from Starmer on live TV. Donors are pulling funding. Labour's official social media pages have gone eerily silent. It's not damage control anymore. It's survival mode. And still, Starmer refuses to resign. But the writing is on the wall. Kier Starmer has lost the public. He's lost the party. He's lost the future. And many believe he's only days, maybe even hours away from announcing the inevitable, his resignation. Yet even that won't be the end, because stepping down won't erase the hedge fund meetings. It won't explain the billions missing from the books. It won't answer to the voters who feel robbed of truth, robbed of leadership, and robbed of the movement they once believed in. The damage is already done. And for Starmer, history may remember him not as the man who saved Labour, but the one who destroyed it from within. This is the fallout of lies, greed and arrogance. This is what happens when a leader forgets who he serves. And this is only the beginning. The nation waits, the investigation grows, and for Kier Starmer, the clock is ticking. Share your thoughts in the comments section and subscribe to our channel for more UK news.